Harris is just gish galloping. He's throwing everything out there. I'm going to actually respond with arguments. I'll just respond to this wife beating argument. Simple question, Harris. Do you believe women should be subject to laws? If you do believe that women should be subject to laws, then that means you believe women should be subject to all kinds of violence, including being beaten, jailed, even executed. That's what it means to be subject to the law. So there really is no difference between Islam on quote-unquote wife beating and human rights on this issue. Both Islam and human rights are in 100% agreement that women are accountable if they break the law, and that means Islam and human rights are in 100% agreement that women should be beaten. We only differ on who should do the beating. You say, it's clear from the responses to the debate that these atheists did not understand this point. They did not grasp this idea that if you are accountable to the law, then you're liable for being physically coerced if you violate the law. And you can just imagine, like, if you are a woman that shoplifts, or you're a woman that commits assault, or you're a woman that, commits manslaughter because you're driving like a maniac through the city, then the police will come and they will subdue you against your will. And if they have to use violence, which sometimes they do, they will use brutal violence to subdue you and even kill you if they have to, because if you really resist arrest, or you pull out a weapon against them, or you try to attack them with a knife, they have the authority as police to shoot and kill you. They have to, right? If the law applies to women, then women are subject to all of this violence. So let me show you this picture. Can you see this? This is happening in Australia from 1 day ago. There's one picture that could depict Australia. It's these two police officers double pepper spraying a 70-year-old lady after violently throwing her to the ground. I don't know why they're doing this to her. Maybe she wasn't wearing her mask. But look, that's violence. This is an old lady, 70-year-old lady. So why is Harris not crying hot tears for this poor lady and the many others who are violently beaten, pepper sprayed, bones are broken, shoved into prisons? Do you know how many women are incarcerated in America alone? It's like 100,000, right? 100,000, I believe, is the prison population for women. It's the biggest prison population, female prison population. Now they're sending, okay, I don't want to get into that other topic of trans inmates with them and what that leads to. But these are women that are being coerced into a cage that they have to spend their time against their will, locked up. Any of them who are in solitary confinement, that's torture, right? According to the UN, I believe, or the Geneva Conventions even. I'm not sure about that. I have to fact check that. But solitary confinement is torture. So these women, some of them are being tortured. Does Islam allow a husband to do any of this? No. But where are Harris's hot tears? Okay, atheists, answer this. This is violence against women. But what you'll say is that no, it's justified because these women broke the law. These women did things that were contrary to our legal system, our system of morality. The same thing in Islam. Anyone who breaks the law, anyone who violates the law, how else are you going to maintain social order without laws? Anyone can just write laws. Anyone can just write, law. These are all these beautiful laws that we have. Anyone can make up laws all you want. They have no meaning unless you enforce the law, unless you force people to obey the law. You're not going to get any order and social cohesion by just writing laws. You have to have enforcement of the laws. That's why police are necessary. That's why law enforcement is necessary. Everyone agrees to that. Everyone agrees to that. But Islam has a more robust, better, superior model, because it says that there are so many aspects of order in society that are organic, because humans naturally have these kinds of instincts not to harm others that are in the same in-group as them, not to harm their family members, not to harm people that they're pair bonded with, like your spouse, not to harm. You not only don't harm them, you benefit them. You are altruistic towards them through your spouse, your family, your community, your people in your society. This is very organic, and there are certain things that make that cohesion stronger, that make that cohesion more robust and this is all organic, because human history, there hasn't been policemen in cars with guns, where every time you have a problem, like someone commits an act of violence or violates the norms, you can get on your iPhone and call the police to get there in like 20 minutes to stop the crime. No, you had to have other mechanisms for preventing antisocial behavior or anti-pro-social behavior. So that this is what Islam accommodates and gives rules for this organic system. Okay? And it says that not all, well, here, I'll just play. Only the state can punish women. Only the state should have a monopoly on all power and authority. Islam says, no, power should be distributed across kinship groups. And this means that the patriarch has authority to physically discipline members of his family, including his wives, if they violate important norms and values. Now let's ask women. If you violate the law, shouldn't you face consequences? And if you have to face consequences, who would you rather mete out those consequences? The cold iron fist of the bureaucratic, technocratic state, or the person who loves you the most in the whole world? The other important... So if you violate the law, but Harris takes away that conditional, or these people, these conmen, they take away the condition of if you violate it. They just make it sound like, oh, you're just an innocent woman who is sitting around minding your own business, and then your husband comes and punches you. That's what they want to depict it as. But that's comparing apples and oranges, right? We're talking about people, if you violate the law, if you violate morality, certain aspects of morality and the moral order that we'll get into, then that's when there can be consequences. The difference is that with the technocratic state, there is no higher authority. If the authoritarian modern state wants to persecute a particular woman, she has no recourse beyond the authority of the state. But in Islam, the husband is not the highest authority. If he is unjust to his wife, or if he causes serious abuse, then the wife can take him to the Islamic court and get paid damages. Or she can complain to her extended family and make her case so that other patriarchs can intervene and actually punish her husband. This is an organic system, and we see similar systems in all traditional cultures, Native American culture, even Christianity, read the Bible, even Judaism, read the Bible. They all have these kinds of rules. Nowadays, they've kind of reformed all of that. Islam is the only religion that's really honest on this. Look, let me put it like this. Is it possible to run a corporation without the possibility of physical discipline? No, you have to give managers in these corporations the right to beat their employees. How do you beat your employees? Well, if the employee violates the norms of the workplace, they get fired. And if they do not voluntarily comply, security will be called to remove them by force. Managers have to have the right to beat their employees. If they didn't have the right, you couldn't have a hierarchical organization. Islam recognizes this about family. Patriarchy is hardwired into our DNA. Neurobiologists, psychologists, they all acknowledge this. Women are naturally hypergamous, which means they're attracted to men who are stronger than them and higher status than them. Men that they can be dependent on. Men that are authorities over them. If you take out the patriarchy, this actually significantly reduces female attraction to their husbands. And they have studies on this where they ask women if they are more attracted to the macho man patriarch or a man who is at their same level in terms of size, strength, and status. And all women, including the hardcore feminists, prefer the higher status male. So if you promote egalitarian marriage, such as in human rights, you basically are ensuring
less attraction, and that means less stable marriages. And this is exactly why marriages in the modern West have collapsed, because they're egalitarian. Islam says, no, if you want a strong society, you have to have strong families. And if you want strong families, they have to be patriarchal. And if they're patriarchal, that means the man has authority. And if he has authority, that means he has the power to physically maintain order. This is all a coherent, holistic system, and it's backed and underwritten by human biology, human psychology, that is universal across all human societies. It's hardwired into us. That's why this is an objective argument, Haris. You can't really understand that. I hope your followers, these Christians who are listening, these Hindus that are listening, I hope they're following, because this stuff is in their books as well, in their cultures as well. They've reformed all that and threw it out because they're cucking to modernity, but Muslims are not going to do that. We don't need to change our religion because it's revealed from God, to the creator of human beings. The creator of human beings knows our psychology, knows our biology, and that's why he has revealed this Sharia for the benefit and flourishing of humanity. And all of the statistics are proving this. You can't even respond to a single one.
So they didn't understand the point about corporations, but it's not just corporations. Also, you have universities. You have these other kinds of institutions that are allowed to operate with authority in the secular world. But basically a corporation, again, if there's a violation, so any organization, to be an organization, you have to have ground rules, you have to have guidelines, you have to have norms of behavior. Imagine, I'm an employee at a corporation, I can't just do whatever I want. I have to abide by the guidelines of that workplace. And everyone else in that workplace has to abide by the guidelines as well. Otherwise, the corporation cannot function. There would be complete dysfunction. You wouldn't have a maintained, established organization of people working together mutually. That kind of cohesion and mutual cooperation cannot exist unless there are certain norms. And there has to also be a certain hierarchy, because there's going to be a disagreement. There are going to be disagreements between people in that corporation, or in a university. You're a student or you're a professor. There's going to be disagreements, and sometimes you can work it out, but other times you can't work out disagreements. You need a higher authority to decide what is going to happen. And so the buck has to stop somewhere. Who is the highest authority? You have a hierarchy. All human organizations are like this. Governments are all like this. Any kind of institution is like this. You have to have a hierarchy, and you have to have certain norms of behavior. Family is also supposed to be like this. Family is also supposed to be like this. And it has been for thousands and thousands of years. But who does the buck stop with? That is the question. In the corporation, the buck stops with the CEO, but there are lower levels of managers in a hierarchy, and those managers are authorized. If someone, so imagine you're in a meeting with your manager. Your manager says, I think we should run our ad campaign in November. You say, no, I think we should run our ad campaign in October. There's a disagreement. So then the manager says, well, I like your reasoning, Daniel. Okay, this is corporate diplomacy. I like your reasoning, but I think there will be some challenges in October, and there will be some opportunities in November. So how about we circle back and make a decision later this afternoon? We can touch base. This is all corporate speak. And so I say, okay, fine, but actually I really insist that we do this ad campaign in October, because you're an idiot. You're actually a fool, and you are going to drive this company into the ground. I hate your stupid face. So this is a fantasy of anyone who's employed in a white-collar job. Just imagine telling your boss off, I don't like your ugly face. That's why we should have our ad campaign in October. So what is the manager going to do in that situation? Is the manager going to say, okay, Daniel, good meeting, bye? If he does that, his authority in the office is going to be undermined. He won't be able to manage anyone after that point, because I openly insulted him to his face. And he just walked away. He turned the other cheek. So he has to say basically, this is very inappropriate behavior, Daniel. I didn't expect this from you. I think we need to have a meeting. This will definitely affect your performance review. And I have to consult HR about this, human resources. And I say, no, forget you, you ugly monkey. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of your stupid ideas. I'm tired of this nonsense. Go to hell. Something like that. So what is he going to do? Is like, okay, Daniel, you're fired. Just get out of here. I'm like, why should I go? I'm not going to leave. You get out of here. You get out of this office. Why are you the manager? You're an idiot. So then what is the manager going to do? So I say, Daniel, please calm down. Okay, I don't know why you're having this outburst right now. Okay, I know we had you work overtime without pay, but I don't understand why you're so upset about when we're having our ad campaign. I really think you need to settle down. Shut up! Shut your mouth, you ugly, ugly manager. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with the guy's looks, but so then what recourse does he have? What recourse does he have? He has to call someone, right? Security. He has to call security. So he says, we have a situation here in the office. We have a disgruntled employee. we have this employee that's going off the rails. Please hurry. And this private security that the corporation has hired to do their security work comes and sends a couple of big guys, and they come and I say, who are these guys? I'm not going with them. You go. What are they going to do? They're going to grab me by force. And I try to get out of their arms. Get off of me. Get off of me. Get out of my way. They're going to pull out the nightstick. They're going to pull out the taser. They're going to subdue me, right? They're going to actually do a lot of violence to me to pull me out. And then the police are going to come. They're going to charge me with assault. They're going to lock me up. That's what's going to happen. So these managers have the right to beat me. They have the right to beat their employees. This is what that means. It doesn't mean the manager can just arbitrarily decide, I'm going to just beat whoever I want. That's not what it means. It means that the buck has to stop somewhere. Authority has to stop somewhere. And that authority means having the right to physically make things the way that they need to be. That's what authority means. And obviously there are people who abuse their authority. That's everywhere. Okay, if you're an employee at a corporation, you know what I'm talking about. People abuse their authority all the time. And governments, people in government positions, in the secular enlightened West, they abuse their positions all the time, but they have authority. No one says, oh, we have corruption, or oh, we have this bad boss. That means there should be no authority. No one ever says that. But the thing about liberals is they say that all authority should be only at the governmental level, at these universities, in these corporations. They're the only ones who should have the authority to mete out or to punish non-compliance physically. But Islam says, well, why? Why only them? The family is also an important unit, an important organization. And in fact, if you deprive authority from the patriarch in the marriage, if you deprive him of that authority, that means there won't be an organization. There won't be a family. Oops. There won't be any family if you take out the authority. And that's exactly one of the main attacks of liberals on liberal secularism on the family. This is one of the main reasons that they're destroying, or how they're destroying families, is they've taken the authority from the man, the husband. There's no patriarch. So that you can't have order, you can't have cohesion within the family unit. Now, of course, Islam envisions larger extended families, but even in the nuclear family, you can't have order. It will collapse. And that is exactly why you have these laws, like domestic violence laws. Because the buck doesn't stop. The husband literally can't do anything. The husband literally in all of these countries, and increasingly in Muslim countries, because these feminist laws are being applied in the Muslim world as well, unfortunately. If your wife just says, just imagine, like, instead of that employee, me, the disgruntled employee, imagine the disgruntled wife. The disgruntled wife who says, screw you, and no, I'm not going to do anything. Oh, you want me to, wash the children or prepare them for school or feed the children? No, go to hell. Imagine a perfectly analogous situation, because you want an apples to apples comparison. How come the manager can maintain a well-functioning corporation and organization? He has the right to do that because he has this authority. He very rarely has to exercise it. In fact, most managers, even though having many employees, things will never get to that level. Things will never get to that level. And the same thing for Muslim families. It will never get to that level for the vast majority, 99.9%. Okay? It won't get to that level, but if it were to get to that level, then the buck stops with the husband, with the patriarch of the family. And why shouldn't it stop with him? In fact, it's more justified that it stops with him, because the manager of a corporation, he is, maybe he gives you your salary, or he's responsible for your salary, but not much after that. If you leave work, he doesn't care if you get hit by a bus or you get mugged or you have any problems. He's not responsible for that. But the husband is actually responsible for the wife's safety, for her well-being in terms of her income, nafaqah, her upkeep, her clothes, her health. He's responsible for many of these things. Her relations with her family. But according to the Western liberal system, he has no authority. He has all the responsibility, but none of the authority. How is that fair? How is that just? I mean, forget the fairness, or put aside for a second the fairness question, but look at the bigger issue as well of such families could not exist. The family cannot exist when there's no authority, because when there's no authority, there's no structure. And when there's no structure, there's no cohesion. And when there's no cohesion, there's no family. This is exactly why people don't want to have family. They don't want to get married. They're afraid to get married. Men, especially. They're afraid to get married. So are there abusers and abusive people? Yeah, Muslim and non-Muslim. And Muslims are arguably much less in terms of abuse. But that abuse exists in spades with the Western world. Men are abusing their wives. Okay, so what? That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. This is an apples to oranges comparison. The comparison is between who has the authority, who can maintain order and cohesion. This is all very clear and very logical. Just because you haven't heard this argument before, Harris, does not mean that it's wrong. Give an actual intellectual response instead of just repeating the same nonsense over and over again. No one takes you seriously because you don't respond. This whole community of murtaddeen, ex-Muslims, all of these critics of Islam, whether they're Christian, whether they're Hindu, no one's going to take you seriously because you don't respond to arguments. You just look for anything in Islam that contradicts this horrifying modern system of life that's destroying life. Anything in the Quran, anything in Hadith, you comb through all of our texts, all of our books, looking for any verse, any hadith, and then you put it on the internet and you create 1,000 videos about it. That's your whole strategy. But when there's a response and an explanation and wisdom and actually beauty and goodness and everything that Islam offers, even in the things that you want to criticize the most, you can't respond. You're not conversant with it. You guys are losers. All of you critics of Islam are losers, and you don't have the intellectual high ground. You've never had it, but you definitely don't have it in these conversations. You're just trolls. And you don't have the same kind of approach to other religions, only Islam. Why is that, I wonder?
Go ahead, Harris, for 5 minutes.
All right. Okay. So let's just go through some of his points. He says, so would I want women to subject to law? Of course, I would want them to subject to law. If they commit a crime, they need to go to prison. But
Okay, they commit a crime, they need to go to prison. How are they going to get into prison, Harris? How are they going to get into prison? Maybe the security will be called. Now imagine a female employee. She does the same thing that I did. She starts abusing the manager. She gets fired. Then the security comes. You know, the big burly guy comes, and then she gets the message. Okay, I'll leave. I'm gone. And she walks out. There was the threat of force. There was the threat, the potential of force. No violence actually occurred at that point. Same thing in any organization, any university, and in families, in Muslim families. And any healthy family, not just Muslim, and even non-Muslims, families who abide by patriarchy. It's like, you know who's in charge here, right? You know who's responsible for the household, right? The patriarch, right? You recognize it. That's why things usually don't escalate to that level. And Islam's system is actually so perfect and beautiful. Like, look at this in the Quran. Here. Okay. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. Men are in charge of women. This is Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, ayah 34. So men are in charge of women. This is Sahih International Translation. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard, but those wives from whom you fear arrogance, nushuz is the word. You fear arrogance, and nushuz again is also a broader, all-encompassing term that goes beyond just arrogance. It means this kind, like imagine what I just showed you about the employee and how arrogant, he was arrogant, right? It's like more than that. It's like just rebellious, like abusive, like I'm trying to tear down what you stand for. Okay? It's a big threat to the family, right? It's a big threat to the order of the family. And so in the Quran, Allah says, first advise them. Okay, advise them, like just like the manager did, right? Just in the play that I did for you. So this is not really appropriate, and please stop. You know, let's talk this out. Let's work it out. Like, did you have a bad day? Did something happen to you? How can we make this right? How can we make this better? Okay, this is what Allah is commanding. First, advise them. Then, if they persist, forsake them in bed. Basically, create a separation. Cool off period. Cool off period where we need to, cool off and approach things with calmer heads. So that's the second step. Again, brilliant. Third, strike them. Strike them. Okay? وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ, command form. Strike them. Yeah, because just like the manager, if she consists, she's persistent. You took the step of advising her. You took the step of having this separation, cooling off period, like maybe we need some time alone to just cool off. But she still is like trying to be aggressive and tear you down and attack the marriage itself. Then, okay, so you have the authority in the same way that the manager has the authority. And this is, and also, I mean, there are guidelines in terms of what you can do, in terms of وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ. You can't strike in a way that leaves a mark. Okay, and again, I have never heard of any, and the Prophet ﷺ actually said this. He said, the best of you don't hit, the best of you don't strike. You don't strike the face. You don't, like, there's all these rules. And again, it's not sugar coated. This is what the books of fiqh describe in detail. But, and again, just like as rare as it is for the employee to start attacking the manager and defying him and resisting the security guards, that's the same thing in Islam. That's the same thing. Any organization, or look at the university. A student is upset about his grades. He starts attacking the university professor. What can he do in that situation? What can the professor do? What can the dean of the university do? If students are just allowed to attack and defy and, not abide by the rules of what are required in that situation, in that institution, then the institution will dissolve. I don't know how else to say this. But, people who are blind, they're not going to understand this. They're going to continue to insist that, Islam encourages domestic violence. This is, I think this is my attempt to explain this ayah of the Quran. And it's not just an ayah, there's also all this fiqh. All the scholars of Islam interpreted things in this way. And they limited the power of the husband to inflict harm in terms of permanent harm, damage. That's all, as I mentioned, in the rest of this debate. So let's go back to that. Guys, if you're interested in this type of analysis and you want to know how to break down the modern ideologies of the day, we offer courses that will train you to think like a strong Muslim, how to respond to these kinds of attacks on Islam and the Islamic way of life. If you're interested in this, join Al-Asna Institute today.